Hello and welcome to a week 13 edition of the Kama Sutra Show. It is called the Kama Sutra Show because we will be going position by position through every viable play on Sunday's main slate. I am joined by Wiggins, whose family thinks he looks better. I think he looks worse with this new haircut, but, is what it is. Wiggins, what's going on?
I'd say within 5 seconds of seeing our family Thanksgiving picture, I was on Amazon ordering some clippers. It was bad. 2 precious children, beautiful wife, and Joe Dirt with a receding hairline. Like, wasn't cutting it, man. It was time to move on.
Okay. We'll have to agree to disagree there. Evan, what's going on?
I disagree. I think that Wiggins looks excellent. I think that the haircut took 10 years off him. I mean, he looks brand new, spanking handsome. I would spank him.
Wiggins looks like he did before he lost $1 million on Hunter Henry. He's gone back in time, like Benjamin Button. All right, this slate, barring any more news, is not like last week's slate to me at all because there just aren't as many guys that I want to jam in at the top end, and I think the bottom end, the value plays are thinner. The more expensive guys like David Montgomery and Devontae Booker and Perriman and Mims are all more expensive than I think we'd like them to be. We will talk about some cheap options, though, as we go along here. But, yeah, I don't think it's as stars and scrubsy as it was last week. The stars prices have kind of gotten away from us in the form of the big dog, Dalvin, Devontae Adams, DK, guys like that. So we'll talk about all that as we go through here. Let's start the quarterback position. And I think one of the biggest stories of the week, Evan, is this: will they continue to let Russ cook? Have they already stopped letting Russ cook? To some extent they have, and Leone tweeted out the pass rate versus expectation over the last 4 weeks. Seattle is still passing at a rate higher than expectation, but it's certainly come way down from where it was at the beginning of the year. Now, if they ever wanted to take their foot off the gas, a home game against Colt McCoy with Chris Carson back healthy would be a spot for them to take their foot off the gas. Still, I'm still interested in Russ even at 7,700. I'm not fully buying into that they're not going to let Russ cook anymore. How do you view this whole Russ and how aggressive they'll be against the Giants Sunday, Evan?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm putting a lot into coach speak, which can be dangerous. But if you listen to the way that Pete Carroll has talked about the situation and how thrilled he was about how good Chris Carson looked and, the way that he was, running over guys, and that really, galvanizes the team. And I mean, he just went on and on about how, how they running the ball helps their defense. And I tend to believe that they're not going to have their foot on the gas with regard to the passing game against the Giants. The Giants have been good on defense. I saw early in the week, Seattle's team total was 29.75. And I was like, man, that's way too high. I mean, the Giants over their last 6 are giving up right around 20. The Seahawks are a better offense than they've faced during that stretch. But and I think that team total is down to around 27 or 26 at this point, which I think is closer to correct. Russ can still have a good game. I mean, it's not like he needs them to let Russ cook to have good games. I mean, he's been having good games for years before they started to let Russ cook. So I still think he can absolutely have a good game, but I am on the side of the fence. I think, again, maybe putting too much stock into coach speak. But I mean, we've seen evidence of it on the field as well, that they are not as aggressive in the passing game as they were early in the season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. In the past, Russ has had huge games on efficiency, not on volume, on straight efficiency. We know that is in him in this spot. But when we start talking about point per dollar, it's like the thing is, like, there's not a lot of quarterbacks I really love on this slate. And so I think you can get a very solid 18 to 20 for sure out of Russ, but you might be able to get that for $1,000 cheaper on this slate, Wiggins. So, if you think that Russ is not going to cook here, and I believe a lot of what everyone's talking about with the coach speak and stuff like that, then you can go down to Aaron Rodgers, you can go down to Justin Herbert or someone like that, save $1,000 and probably get a similar floor projection. What do you think about the top of the quarterbacks?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Russ was in years past, he was a lot cheaper than this, and his receivers are fully priced right now as well. And we would be looking for games where we thought they would be behind because it would be the fourth quarter where they'd be throwing and he'd get all the points. So I'm not saying I'm out on Russ. And I might even be interested in Russ in tournaments if the narrative is that strong and everyone's buying into the fact that they're just going to run the ball now and his ownership drops back. I mean, we've seen Russ go under on a lot this year. So if Russ is back around to like 5% ownership, which I don't know. I mean, he's being projected in the low teens right now. If he drops below that, I might be interested, but I don't know. FanDuel, I'm really, really struggling at quarterback. I think on DraftKings, Aaron Rodgers, you're getting a pretty solid discount on Russ. So he stands out to me as probably the best play. But it's not as big of a discount on FanDuel. And I don't know. I mean, I'm really interested to see what you guys think at quarterback, because I don't have a strong lean at all right now.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers, 5 straight games with, I believe, 23 or more DraftKings points. Aaron Rodgers has been playing on another level. I think that the Eagles defense is reasonable, but I think Evan alluded to in matchups, like this team is in the dumps, man, and they could just go sleepwalking in. They have no confidence in Carson Wentz whatsoever and kind of lay an egg against Aaron Rodgers, who's just been absolutely shredding. I don't like paying close to $7K for quarterbacks who don't give you a lot of rushing equity, but on this slate, I don't really like the spot for Kyler. Already mentioned, I think Russ is probably a little bit too expensive. Then you get down to guys who aren't really runners, like Herbert, like Rodgers, like Ryan Fitzpatrick. So what do you think about this spot for Aaron Rodgers first, Evan, and then I want to get some Kyler takes?
I think it's mildly concerning, but I don't think it's because the Eagles can get pressure with their front four and without blitzing, and the Packers are going to be without Corey Linsley, their stud starting center, and that's a concern against Fletcher Cox and company. So it's not like a pristine matchup, but I do think that neither was the Bears. Aaron Rodgers has been incredibly matchup proof. He's playing at in his prime level. Aaron Rodgers. He's got Devontae Adams healthy. He's got Marquez Valdez-Scantling relatively healthy. He's got Alan Lazard back. Robert, Big Bob Tonyan is balling. Aaron Jones is 100%. His weapons are about at peak level right now from a health standpoint. I do think that there's some risk of the Eagles going out to Lambeau and just not showing up at all, and Aaron Rodgers throwing 5 touchdown passes.
Yeah, I think that's for sure in play. I also want to get your take on Kyler, because I think people are down on Kyler due to the shoulder injury. He just hasn't been that great over the last, month or so. And we talked about on the team by team how that Hail Mary kind of masked a lot of stuff because they won the game. DeAndre Hopkins got the big bonus and Kyler had a bunch of points and everything, but Kyler has not been great, not rushing as much. 7,600 for Kyler against the Rams, so you can make a case of been the best pass defense in the entire NFL this season. What do you think about Kyler's spot this week?
I think that there is there are some avenues toward Jared Goff and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and maybe one of the tight ends having a good game against Arizona, and therefore Arizona has to answer back aggressively. But at the same time, I think it's more likely that the Rams have rushing success against Arizona, which has been heavily depleted up front with losses of Corey Peters. He's a 300-plus pound guy. Chandler Jones up front. Jordan Williams, who they signed, or Jordan Simmons, who they signed before the season. He's 350 pounds. They've lost all these guys, and the Rams like to run the ball. So I don't like the game environment in general. I think it's a concern with Jalen Ramsey on DeAndre Hopkins, who's been held below 60 yards in 3 of his last 4 games, and the only one where he had a good game was because of the Hail Murray pass. So I don't love the game environment here for either side, and I don't know. Maybe I'm too down on Kyler. It's not necessarily the shoulder. It's the game environment and the fact that he has not been as aggressive as a runner, and so much of his production this year has been derived from rushing because, as we've talked about a lot, their passing game really hasn't been that great.
Yep. Exactly. And also, I think the rushing touchdowns near the goal line were bound to regress. I mean, teams are following Kyler on read options now and letting Kenyon Drake do a lot of things. We'll get there in a little bit. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of the quarterbacks that I think people are going to play, we're not that high on. I'd add Justin Herbert to the mix here. Justin Herbert has to face Bill Belichick and the Patriots. I don't think that's as concerning as it has been on the past due to personnel on the New England side, Justin Herbert has been incredibly efficient. He's 6,900. Only other guy I think that two other guys that I think I like in the cheaper range, Mitchell Trubisky, who we can talk about in a second, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. Assuming he starts, I do think that Tua will end up sitting here, and Ryan Fitzpatrick will ride again this time against the Bengals. Wiggins, what do you think about some of those 6K guys like Fitz and Herbert, and then even down to Mitch?
Yeah. I mean, look, a lot of these guys, Kyler, Herbert, like for offenses that have been pretty good throughout the course of the year, their team totals are not good right here. You've got 22.5 for Arizona. You got 23 for the Chargers. Both those teams are at home. So that's given me some pause. Bill Belichick, Leone head blew up when I was telling him this, but Belichick historically has been incredibly good against rookie quarterbacks. I don't know how much to bake that in, but I think it's something worth considering, even if the defense isn't as good. Then the spread's tight there too. So people think it's going to be a close game. As far as on the cheaper end, Mitch, man, I mean, I think he looks pretty good here. He's played well against Detroit in the past. Talk about a good team total. I mean, the Chicago Bears team total is higher than those other teams I just listed. It's up at 24. They're at home. You're never feeling good about playing Mitch. And would I go there in cash? I don't know. I think Rodgers kind of sticks out on DraftKings, and FanDuel, I'm still trying to figure it out because nothing quite really sticks out there. And I don't usually like going down. I'd rather do the cheap quarterback route on DraftKings than FanDuel. And the other guy I'd throw out there too is Kirk Cousins. What a great matchup. But this is a team that we know would prefer to run the ball. Last week he got a lot of his production late in the game when they were trailing. So I don't know if I want to count on them throwing the ball, but I mean, they got an over 30 team total. So you can make a case for him.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins up at 6,400 on DraftKings. Yeah. The thing about Mr. Trubisky is obviously you are betting on raw matchup. And I hate to do that. I hate to just be like, oh, I'm playing this guy just because he has an amazing matchup. He has absolutely shredded the Lions in the past. I don't know how much that means. You also have the new coach narrative. These guys are probably happy that they don't have to play for Patricia anymore. Maybe the Lions show up for this game. So I can see Mitch getting overrun, but he is cheap. And I thought he gave them at least a little bit of a spark last week. So I think Mitch and Ryan Fitzpatrick and maybe Matt Ryan, if Julio is healthy, would be three guys 6K and below that I'm at least interested in. What do you think about some of those cheap guys, Evan, like Mitch and Fitz and Matt Ryan?
Yeah, I like Mitch and Fitz. What is our feeling on whether or not Julio Jones is going to play?
I think almost certainly going to play.
Okay. That's good. I mean, I still think that the Saints defense is like it's really reaching its pinnacle right now. It's hitting on all cylinders. They're pretty healthy on defense, and we haven't really seen a true good game. I know that the Falcons put up 43 last week, but they didn't really play that well offensively. But definitely helps to have Julio back. I think Mitch is in an incredible spot. Allen Robinson is in a really good spot. He's got some squeaky wheel appeal. I think that David Montgomery can have a good game here. I think that the Lions are without both of their starting cornerbacks. Jeffrey Okudah ruled out again. Desmond Trufant went on IR. This is just like the prime spot where, like, late in the season, Ryan Pace up there in the box, watching Mitch, he's going to be able to sell this to ownership again. We're going to run it back with Mitch again. He has a good game here, and he gets that big extension after the season. I'm joking, but I do think that Trubisky is set up for a good game. Again, we talked about on the team by team. Like, I guess the Lions could theoretically make big changes to the way that they play defense, but historically they play. They don't blitz, they don't get pressure with their front four. They play man coverage, so everything is defined. Mitch Trubisky can see it. He doesn't have to think too much, and that's when Mitch Trubisky can have good games.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm partial to Fitz. I know Fitz is 600 more, and you could argue that with Brandon Allen there, they're not going to put up as much of a fight as maybe Matthew Stafford can, but we've seen Matthew Stafford just absolutely fail without Kenny Galladay, who he will not have. So, yeah, I think it's close between Mitch and Fitz for me, and I still have Ryan in the mix there. I agree with you on Cousins, Wiggins. Any FanDuel specific takes or anything on the cheap guys?
Yeah, and Cousins is more of a FanDuel play because he's 7-3 over there.
Mm-hmm.
So, the guys in that range on FanDuel are Cousins at 7-3. Mitch at 6'9". I mean, Phillip Rivers at 7. I don't think so. I'd rather just play Mitch because at least Mitch has some upside. You'd be really happy with 20 from Phillip Rivers. You're never getting 30.